of our first International Congress, More Human, Rehumanizing Humanity. I'm Jessica Lockhart. I am the director of the International Institute of Humanology, and I am over the moon because this Congress has proven to be very interesting to people. We've had over 800 attendees in these last 9 days already, and I hope that this will multiply and disseminate throughout the world because, as you know, at the Institute, we firmly believe that we need to rehumanize humanity. We need to go back to the core, which is us, human beings. As you know, every day we approach a human topic, and we have 5 panelists that discuss this topic and offer ideas, tips, proposals. And because this is the month of happiness, we couldn't not talk about happiness. And we wanted to approach this topic of happiness from a very unique perspective. We wanted to question whether happiness is the real thing or if it is just one of those fads or buzzwords. And that is precisely the title of tonight's panel. Happiness, a buzzword? Let me, as always, invite you, our dear audience, to participate and to join us in this conversation. You can write your questions and comments on YouTube, and we will use them and broadcast them as we progress in our panel. And there's one more thing I need to say, and it is very important to share. I want to publicly thank everybody who helped us run and disseminate this Congress, especially our collaborators, the Global Coaching Federation, the World Federation for Mental Health, LOANI, Leaders of All Nations International, first known as Ladies of All Nations International, and INIPAC. Thank you for all your support, and thank you for making it possible together with the International Institute of Humanology. Now, without further ado, and seeing that our participants are already connecting live to the Congress, let's move on to introducing the first of our panelists today. The first panelist we're going to be having today is Rosario Ayala. She's Mexican. She has or holds a communication degree and a master's degree in organizational development by UNESCO in Mexico. And her certifications include happiness trainer, conscious business coaching, and conscious capitalist consultant. She is passionate about human development, conscious sorority, and strengths-based leadership. She enjoys singing at the top of her lungs, coloring mandalas, and drinking coffee with a good conversation. And I am sure that she will give us precisely that good conversation tonight. Rosario, I am so happy to have you here. Welcome, bienvenida. You have 5 minutes now to give us and share your ideas on happiness, a buzzword.
Thank you, Jessica. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me here. I'm so happy to be here, and I have to say I'm currently in Granada. I live in Mexico, but now I am in Granada because it's running the World Happiness Fest. So if you are near to Granada, please come with us. So I like to start introducing myself. As Jessica said, I am a happiness expert. I've been studying a lot about this beautiful topic, and I'm just founding the Conscious Happiness Academy, which is a consultancy and an academy to improve the corporate environments and to develop more consciousness in leadership. And today, I like to talk about consciousness, happiness, and business. We don't know these beautiful words at the same sentence, but I really believe we could be happy starting with consciousness, and with that we could be open to the world, to the universe, and build business with this. So let's talk about consciousness. For me, this is the first step to build happiness. I really believe we have to be aware about ourselves, to know our strengths, to know our weaknesses, and to develop both. As an organizational development specialist, I've been building development programs based on weaknesses. And I used to think this is a good idea because I want to, develop a leader, and this leader is here, and I want to put them there. So I need to improve their weaknesses. But it's not like that. If we really believe that people has this talent, has these skills, so we have to find their skills, their strengths. When we build a life based on our strengths, we really want to be happy. We really be able to be happy. Now, I like to talk about happiness. What is happiness? I have to say, in my old time, when I was younger, I used to think that happiness is when you are smiling, when you have this joy in your heart, But happiness is more about consciousness. It's more about a holistic point of view. My teacher, Dr. 𝗕𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗃, says that happiness is this wholeness, this holistic way to live based on 5 elements: spiritual, physical, intellectual, relational, and emotional well-being. So happiness is more about to embrace our holistic way to be. And finally, I have to say, I really believe in capitalism. And this is, I know, a polemic topic, but conscious capitalism is about to have a main purpose, a beautiful purpose, this service to the world. We have to be open to the world, and I really believe we don't have to be poor, to serve the world. We could build a business. We can build a richness if we are aware about our strengths, if we are happy, and with that we serve to the people around the world. That's it, Jessica. Thank you for having me here. I hope. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rosario. Thank you. Thank you for this first approach into happiness, buzzword. As you will see, what you just said, together with what everybody else is going to say, will combine into a very deep, profound, and complete view of this topic, which is the idea for this Congress, for these panels. Consciousness, holistic, and capitalism. 3 words that you mix together in your presentation, and that might have surprised some people. We'll see what other panelists have to say about these and many other ideas and topics. Let me now move on to introduce the second panelist of today. I am also really thrilled to introduce her because, well, she has a completely different perspective, but one that I'm sure will add to the conversation. She is Laura Cristea. She is dedicated to helping others overcome obstacles and embrace a brighter, happier life. Despite losing most of her vision due to brain cancer at an early age and being told that she would be dead by the age of 20, she refused to give up. Through resilience and optimism, she's not only survived, but thrived. You're going to see. Now, at 36, she continues to live fully, surrounded by positivity, growth, and gratitude. Her mindset and perceptions have shaped her reality, and she believes that that happens to every human being. She believes that we hold the power to transform our lives for the better, and that happiness is a choice, and that our mindset holds the key. So let me please open the floor to Laura. I am so thrilled to have you here with us tonight, Laura. The floor is yours for the next 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Jessica. Very kind of you, as always. I'm very happy and humbled to be here. I will start by saying a few words about my journey. Obviously, as you mentioned, it hasn't been a short one, so to speak. It was quite an adventure. And I dare to say that through faith, hope, and optimism, I've managed to get where I am. And funnily enough, the most criticized aspects of my personality, my stubbornness and hyper optimistic nature, were the main factors which helped me to get where I am and to go through to get through my journey. Just to mention a few of the adventures I've been through, I've had numerous brain surgeries. I've been bedbound for months in a row, and not being able to even lift my head from the pillow. And my only relief was just looking through the window at the freely flying birds, enjoying the beautiful sky. I have been in a coma and don't remember a couple months of my life. I have no idea what I've done there, so please don't judge. I have been depressed, had suicidal tendencies, anxiety, and could not even look in the mirror for a long period of time due to a post-surgery effect. But through all that, somehow I've never lost hope. Somehow hope was always there, shining through my smile and my nature. I regained control over my life and follow my path with optimism, striving for a future and not believing always what the doctors say. Their grim prospects weren't very optimistic and weren't very inspiring. So here I am. I meet lovely people every day, like yourself. So thank you very much. And I learn and grow every day. I continue to live fully with gratitude, to learn and continue growing. And I dare to say that our mindset and perceptions truly shape our reality, and we hold the power to transform our lives for the better. It's happiness, as I've mentioned and you've said, is a choice, and our mindset holds the key. We hold the power. And regarding happiness being a buzzword or not, it might be. I don't know. I am inclined to believe that, like most things in life, it's a matter of perspective. In a way, ironically, in this current day and age, happiness has become a buzzword with negative connotations. In the sense, it's been monetized a lot, overused, and wherever we look, there is a specialist offering us the promise of forever happiness. As a result, happiness and optimism lost their value and their true sense. Also, whenever you have a problem, happiness have become mere comforting words. They are considered unattainable and overused. However, I have learned the hard way that happiness is powerful and it's real. It's a choice, much like optimism, much like any other thing in our life. We can choose what we want to be, but we must want to be happy in order to be happy. We must work towards it, to adhere to a positive mindset and work on it every day. We sow what we reap. If we would like to run in a marathon, I don't think we would just jump in. Probably that wouldn't be a good experience, and it might not end so well. So not advisable. So it's just the same with our inner processes. Even if we can't see the inner workings of our minds, the same logic applies. I dare to say that I don't think there is one universal recipe to happiness. It is unique to the individual. Indeed, there might be some commonalities. However, only we know what makes us tick, what makes us happy. We are the experts of our inner workings, and we hold the power and the key to our happiness, to our future. Happiness unites us. It helps us learn and grow, making our lives better. It brings us together in this beautiful Congress, and it's part of our humanity. And we should keep it alive, no matter how dark the times are. I have often heard people talking about happiness by saying that the market is oversaturated by experts and lifestyle coaches. Well, it might be, and there is an ever-growing number of specialists, but so are we. We are ever growing, so it might be a positive thing. There might be a specialist for every one of us, so why not? In the end, there is always a reason to fight for another day and to believe in happiness. So we need to see what is the reason for each of us, what sparks that light in us. And happiness is our guide. It's like the northern light. It can guide us. In the end, they say fake it until you make it. And there are studies that show smiling actually welcomes joy and happiness. It acts like a beacon. So we are the creators of our reality, and happiness is the fuel that helps us do it. Buzzword or not, happiness is real and its benefits are limitless. Let us create the reality we want to live in. Love and be happy. So thank you very much for listening, and don't ever lose hope and believe in happiness.
Thank you, Laura, for that introduction. I can only but mention that the word optimism is an integral part of humanology. Those of you who follow the International Institute of Humanology know that we offer specific contents that are not taught any other place in the world, and one of them is optimism coaching, a methodology to recover optimism whenever it is gone from people's lives, because we understand that without that optimism, nothing else can happen. So thank you for mentioning it, Laura. We're going to move fast because we have a lot of material and content to cover, and we're going to move on to our next panelist for today. Somebody I met in Switzerland. Yes, we met in Switzerland quite a few years ago, and we co-presented even some workshops together. I'm talking about Vinay Deshpande, a transformative and compassionate coach who not only helps navigate life challenges, but inspires you to show up in your life with full clarity and confidence. He has a unique ability to connect profound experiences with personal and professional growth. He boldly accompanies you deep into your cognition, emotion, and spiritual being, facilitating the discovery of self-compassion, self-awareness, and inner joy. Change is the only constant. One might say it's a cliche, but that actually epitomizes Vinay's life, as he embraced a lot of change throughout different stages of his life. Vinay went through his own personal transformation when he moved away from being a finance controller in a big company for 18 years to be an independent coach in 2016. That's when he started his company, Dare to Show Up. Prior to venturing into full-time coaching, he gathered a rich experience working in diverse finance, business, partnering, and transition management roles in multinational companies. Over these years, he gained solid insights into the many challenges of today's life, which he uses to evoke transformation and develop people into inspiring human beings. Born in Mumbai, he now lives in Basel, Switzerland. Vinay, so happy to have you here with us. Welcome. The next 5 minutes are yours.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much, Jessica, for this nice introduction. Thank you so much to you as well as the Institute of Humanology for organizing such a fabulous and thought-provoking event. And also thank you for inviting me to be on your panel. So I'm really happy and grateful for this invitation, and I'm really happy to be here with all my fellow panelists here. Especially listening to Rosaria and Laura, there were a lot of ideas which are commonalities with me, what I'm bringing here, but also I'm really looking forward to the other panelists, to what they are bringing to the table. As you said, I work as a transformative coach, and that means basically I work with people who want to show up in their life the way they want to show up. And what that means is that most of the time, if not all, they are coming up with this. They really want to feel happy. They want to feel satisfied and fulfilled in whatever they are doing in their life. And this is what we call as a conscious self-leadership. And when you came, Jessica, with the invitation to be on this panel of Is Happiness a Buzzword? My first reaction was, maybe yes, I think it's a buzzword, because even though we are looking at, you know, the huge development that we have done in terms of mankind, the humanity, at the same time, we are, in the last couple of years especially, we are hearing a lot of focus on mental fitness, on the challenges that or a lot of people that are going through in terms of managing their mental fitness, the depression, etc. So I think when these two things, when I hear, I felt like, oh, probably it's a buzzword, because so many corporations and organizations are trying to help their people to manage the work and be happy, feel good about it, and their well-being. So it could be really a buzzword. But then I said, okay, let's look back and how do we define happiness? And when we look at different sources of this definition, there are a lot of words like, oh, it's an emotion, it's a feeling, it's a state of mind. These are the words that come up all the time. And then I think, oh, but these are existing right probably from the history of human being or mankind. So how can it be a buzzword? It's a reality. The happiness is real, isn't it? So when I was thinking about it, suddenly I got a picture in front of my eyes of a movie theater, a movie hall. And I felt like when we enter the movie hall, there is always a screen on which the movie is going to play. That screen is existing there all the time. But when I enter the movie hall, I'm not focusing on that screen all the time as soon as I enter. But I get busy with finding my seat, or I may be talking to my friends and fellow colleagues or whoever is there, or maybe even eating my popcorns. But as soon as the movie starts, the lights go off and the whole movie hall is filled with the darkness. And that's when we start to focus on the screen and we start to enjoy the movie. And for me, happiness is like that screen. It's present all the time. But probably now is the time when we are so much focused on this happiness that sometimes we feel like, is it really real, or is it a buzzword, right? And now, this does not necessarily mean what I want to say is that I'm not saying that we have to be happy all the time. That means we are kind of, you know, dancing, bubbly, joyful, or I mean, that should be the aim, but that's not necessarily be the way to be all the time, because we are, at the end of the day, we are all real human beings who should experience all the emotions that will help them to grow in their life, that will nourish their life. And that's why it's, if we are talking about like, oh, being happy, being cheerful, bubbly all the time, that probably might lead to the positive toxicity or toxic positivity, maybe. And that's why the aim is really to enjoy life with full richness of all the emotions that we can enjoy through the different things, or through our different experiences, being conscious of all those experiences and really growing in the sphere of life, right? So before before I close, I just want to ask this question, like, where are you searching for your happiness? To all our viewers who are right now here on the, or maybe they will see it later, but where are you searching for your happiness? And that question comes up like, are you chasing mirage when the oasis is somewhere else? And if the answer to this question is yes, then probably happiness is a buzzword for you. This and probably so many other things that we will discuss as we come together. But again, thank you so much for inviting me here. I'm looking forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vinay. Once again, you made me think of something. You know, you were talking about the movies, going to the movies. I usually always explain that being happy, as many of you already said, doesn't mean be like this all day long. Not at all. I always use the example of a person who's happy, satisfied, joyful when they go to the movies and they're watching a movie and suddenly the movie turns very sad and they cry and oh my goodness, somebody's dying on the screen. And the movie finishes and they go back to their happy selves. Oh, did you see that? What a movie, it was great. Happiness is not just the moment. It's something underneath that moment that pervades it. And when you mentioned the movies, I said, well, I have to say that because a lot of people misunderstand it. Thank you, Vinay. Let me introduce our next panelist. I am really thrilled to have her here. We met in Mexico in the first World Happiness Fest, and we clicked immediately. She is a person who's always been interested in happiness, and she studied it. Rosaria Cirillo is an Italian sunshine of energy and enthusiasm who lives in the Netherlands. She is a TEDx speaker, author, university lecturer, certified customer experience professional, and happiness trainer, yoga and laughter yoga teacher, with a mission to bring more happiness in the world, one interaction at a time. The business and education worlds being her chosen playgrounds. After having worked in corporate for 12 years in various roles, in 2013 she started Wow Now on a mission to inspire and help companies design and deliver wow life-enriching experiences. Since 2023, she's also a lecturer at University of Applied Science in Utrecht, and Rosaria is also the co-author of Understanding Happiness and the author of Yellow Factor, host as well of the Happiness Contribution Show podcast. So as you can imagine, Rosaria has a lot to say about happiness. I am thrilled to have you here, Rosaria. Welcome. The floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Jessica, for this introduction, and thank you all those panelists and for all the different perspectives already shared, each from a different perspective and different background, but yet so aligned, I see. And for me, the moment that I saw your question for this panel, I was like, you know, this is such a nice, engaging and provocative question. And for me, when that happens, I also tend to go, maybe the lecture in me or the curious part in me, to go back to the definitions. So I went back to look at the definition of what is a buzzword, and then to all the definitions that I have of happiness. So that's the perspective I want to bring on the table in this first part. So a buzzword, it's a slogan, a fashionable piece of jargon, a trendy word based on the Oxford English Dictionary. So has happiness become a buzzword? I would say yes. Like it has been overused in marketing or even in job roles like the customer happiness expert to simply indicate the contact center agent, which of course should contribute to happiness, but it's bounded by the processes. And then the question was for me, and should it be a buzzword? And there for me is, well, it depends on the intention and the meaning of the word that we use. And then let's move to the definition of happiness. And also for me, what I keep all in mind, and we have also Rosario here, like me, it's an student of Tal Ben-Shahar. And Tal Ben-Shahar with Happiness Studies Academy, he insists on the happiness revolution. Why? Because from his point of view, happiness, we have to think of the initial definition of it, the core of what really happiness is for. And that's where I go back to the first definition that comes from Aristotle, which says that happiness is the meaning and purpose of life, the whole aim and end of human existence. Because if you ask us or anyone what is it they most want for their children, they will always answer happiness. If you ask somebody what they want in life and then you ask enough time why, at the end the ultimate why is always happiness. So for me, my definition of happiness is inspired by the quote from Gandhi, which says that happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony, to which I added also what you feel and what you experience. And most recently, I also added who you are. So let me repeat the entire definition. For me, happiness is when who you are, what you think, what you say, what you do, what you feel, and what you experience are in harmony, which encompasses all of the 5 elements of well-being, 𝗪𝗏, that Rosario was also mentioning. And the metaphor that I use is the one also from 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏, which is the sun. Happiness is like the sun. We need the sun to survive. And the sun is always there, also behind the clouds. But we cannot look straight into the sun. We need to enjoy the sun indirectly. And so happiness, we need to pursue happiness indirectly. So how do we do that? And that's where I break it down to yet 3 different types of happiness that we can all, I say, bring in our life with consciousness, because happiness at the end is also choice and a practice and a muscle that we can strengthen. So the 3 types of happiness are the hedonic happiness, which is the pleasure, the pleasant life, which is often where a lot of people just stop at. But here I break it down in 2 aspects. One is the feeling of the 5 senses, smell, sight, taste, touch, hearing. That's how we experience the world around us, and they're all important. And then you have the result of the dose of chemicals, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphin. Those are all, we need them biological. We heard also Laura about depression. I've dealt with depression as well. If our dose of chemicals is not in balance, well, we cannot experience happiness. But if all we needed was the chemicals, then we could just take a pill. But that's not the point. And in fact, that's a big challenge nowadays. So then there is the second level, which is eudaimonic happiness, which is the flourishing life. And here is where happiness, it's the emotion, but it's an emotion which is triggered as a response to our needs. And when our needs are met or not met. So for me, I always say also in terms of emotion, we should not talk about positive or negative, but rather pleasant or unpleasant, and whether our needs are met or not. And there here, I use the metaphor of the sunflower and the 9 petals of the sunflowers. So it's about the health, autonomy, purpose, play, integrity, nature, empathy, simplicity, and smile. And there is happiness as a well-being. So that's really the pathway, the brain muscle that we can develop and keep active through continuous practice. And that's the 𝗪𝗏 whole being that 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏 also talks about. And the final type of happiness is mature happiness, which is as defined by Paul Wong. And this is about the inner harmony, the acceptance, the gratitude, the contentment. It's about having peace with oneself and the world surrounding us. This is also happiness both as the outcome of the self-cultivation of our spiritual and psychological maturity, but it's also here happiness as an attitude, as a way of living, as a choice. So that's for me all those different elements. And at the end, yes, happiness may be a buzzword, but it isn't something fluffy. It's something that we can choose. So it's a choice, it's a practice, it's an approach that we nurture, and a muscle that we can strengthen using the science of happiness. And basically also the last element I want to add is that I also, as attitude as a way of living, I know that I cannot be happy all the time. I will experience painful emotion like sadness, but that's where if you have psychological maturity, emotional maturity, then I say you let it rain before the rainbow. And for me, rain is about recognize, acknowledge and accept emotion, investigate the needs and nurture the needs. And I also know that we face hardships. You know, things in life just happen. Sometimes they are accidents, I had my husband ending in ICU in November 2023 and being away for 3 months. That was super tough, but I got through thanks to my well-being practices and through everything that I had built. And sometimes those hardships are challenges which are due to our circumstance, the work environment, bad relationship. But all through those elements, I know that I can and I need to consistently choose to walk the path of happiness by making those conscious choice and nurture those 3 types of happiness. So this is, the perspective that I wanted to add, and I look forward to continue the conversation with the rest of the panelists. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rosaria. You see, it's funny. There's no simple definition for happiness. Everybody understands it their way. Everybody pursues it their way. Everybody teaches it their way. But we all human beings want to be happy. I always say that I've worked with thousands and thousands of people throughout my years, and I'm still to meet one person, one who says, I don't want to be happy. Everyone I've met in my life wants to be happy. So it must have a certain value, I guess. Let me now move on to the last but not least of our panelists today. I am really thrilled to have her with us. I know she's going to give us a different perspective as well. And I am really happy to have her here too, because she is a sister in Loani. She's also a member of Loani, one of our collaborators. So it is doubly pleasant to have her here with us at the Congress. Mónica Gómez was born in New York City. She immigrated to Colombia and lived there during her adolescent years. She's an ordained pastor in the United States and co-founder of La Viva City in Orlando, Florida. She's been working for over 20 years in mentorship, discipleship, restoration, and purpose. Love for Missions Ministry is also co-funded by her. She has it rooted in her heart, working with the most needed countries. She holds a humanitarian honorary doctorate degree from GIA and has received uncountable recognitions and awards, among which would like to mention that she was recognized by the President of the United States for her humanitarian and volunteer work, and she's also published a book. She offers regular podcasts under Monica Go on streaming platforms, where she focuses on coaching, personal growth, and spiritual leadership for her listeners. She's focused on entrepreneurs that are in search of spiritual and emotional restoration. Monica is always just ready to go, and as she says, let's give it a go. And I'm sure Monica is going to give it a go right now. I am really thrilled to have you with us, Monica. Welcome, and the floor is yours for the 5 next minutes.
I am so excited to be with all of you here. Jessica, a big hug for you. I can't wait to hug you in person, my dear. And all of you, I have learned so much. I am the type of person that I could never say that I know it all. I hate that sentence. I am the type of person that says I want to learn it all from other people that have different perspectives. Because aren't we beautiful beings? God has made us so perfectly and so wonderfully made. And I relate to each and one of you in different ways. And I want to start with this quote by Winston Churchill. He says, a pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity. An optimist sees an opportunity in every difficulty. And let me tell you that having that mindset, and we all are in tuned in that point, we're all aligned in that point, it's a mindset. You know that God gave us all a free will. We could do whatever we want. We choose what we want. We choose what we want to do, think, or believe. But sometimes we don't choose well for ourselves, but sometimes we let others dictate our future. Not only dictate our future in reference to our emotions. Some of us could be hurt. Some of us could have been abused. Some of us have been probably labeled. Some of us have been rejected, abused, any way that you see it. And those things start sometimes dictating our ways of thinking. And so happiness starts going down levels into our heart. And then all of these things start having its premise. And it's wonderful to understand that research has showed, as you all have studied, and I have studied and learned myself from God himself because I serve him. So research has shown that in the darkest times of our lives, if we're really resilient, that's the best teaching place that we could be in. I could hear Laura talking about her sickness and how she overcame it and how she overcame the dictations of the doctors, whatever they said about her. You're going to die in the next 3 months. No, she said, no, no, no. I'm so stubborn that I'm going to say, I believe that I'm going forward and I'm going abundant. And I think that God has a plan for me. And when I believe that God has a plan for me, I could believe over whatever any other person could say. If I am grounded in God, if I am grounded in God, if I am grounded in what he has made of me, I could be an overcomer. Look, there's a study from the University of Harvard not long ago, 2-3 years ago, and it studied over 70,000 people. And these 70,000 people having high optimism or happiness, they were likely to live 85 years or more. You know why? Because it's a healer. It's a healer. It's a mindset. So when we're optimistic people, when we're happy people, you know, it brings to see the world in another way. We're going to have problems. Yes, we're going to have hardship. Yes, we're going to have people that are going to stab us in the back. That you cannot control. But there's things that you can control. What could you control? What are you thinking? Are you really thinking what you're thinking? Are you really analyzing what you're thinking? So it's very important to understand that you are responsible of the way you see your life. If you see a healthier life, your outlook is going to be different. A pessimist lives with even their body structure is a pessimist body structure. You're all grounded, you're all heavy. And let me tell you that when you're optimist and when you're happy, you have a better pain management. Laura could say that. I was in a hospital myself for 2 months. The dictations were terrible. I was barren for life, not being able to have children. And by all means, my optimism, my stubbornness, I found myself in her saying, I said, what? I didn't come here because of them. I came here because I'm a miracle of God. I was chosen by millions of thousands of sperms to get into my mom's womb. And I was the one that said, I'm the one. And I'm there. I'm not going to come here just to let go. I'm going to let go, but let God. So if I have this function of optimism, my immune system lifts up. My cardiovascularism all guides up. I feel healthier. I'm buffed up. So it's so important to understand each and one of us, we're different. Yes, happiness is different for everyone. I could say right now in my life, nowadays, you could hear people, if they're not rich, they're not happy. That's, excuse my Spanish or my English or my French, that's BS. Because, you know, you need to understand that whatever guides you and makes you happy, you become so rich and so abundant that money, yes, it's an asset that you definitely need. But that's not going to be the top of your notch. How about a person that optimistically is a strategy person that solves problems? An optimist could strategize, could help another person look at the negative perspectives. Yes, that's temporary. Don't worry. It's not going to be forever. It's a temporary thing. So it's an internal infusion. Let me help you out, get you out of your trouble. Let me show you this perspective. Let me show you. I've been mentoring and I've been coaching for over 2 decades, and I've seen a lot. Nothing gets me afraid. I have seen crazy stuff, and I know where God has taken me out of. So if you're an optimist and a resilient person, especially resilient, you're always looking for the meaning of why this is happening in your life. What is the teaching? What are you going to be learning of this situation? What is going to take you out and catapult you and learn a lesson that it will help you enlarge, but you will be able to help others? Look, there's something really key here. People, 25 to 35% of the people are born happy, okay? Not everybody else, okay? it is a decision. But when you understand that when forgiving is key for you to be optimist and be happy, that is very important, because if not, you're going to drink the poison of your bitterness and your lack of forgiveness for the rest of your life. That is key number one. Key number two, oh my dear, listen to what you're doing and who you're serving. If you're serving someone else, not serving your ego, not serving your own self, and you're serving someone else and helping that person enlarge in their platform, enlarge in their life, whether it's a mother, a dad, or whoever, these platforms are great. But really, is everybody into these platforms? Not everybody's doing what we're doing, but we need to help those to conquer what they're doing, to be a great mom, to be resilient, to be everything. So my dear friends, I think that we could call this culturizing optimism. This might not be a word, but we could culturize it. You're in Granada, Rose, and you're there because you're in a happiness movement. How about we do happiness right here where we're at, in our cities, in our towns? Could we be that injection of life to somebody else that needs it? So that's why I say in my podcast, we need to go back to basics. We need to go back and review and revise what has grounded us, what has been our teacher to bring us and level us up, and never forget where we came out of, because God is always with you and always with me. So thank you for this wonderful opportunity, and let's optimize, culturize happiness and love. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to you, Monica. Thank you to all 5 panelists for these views, these perspectives on happiness, a buzzword. I know that the people who are now watching and those who will watch it later are getting a more complete understanding of what happiness means, what happiness is. I invite everybody who's watching now to comment, write their questions. We will take them. Of course, subscribe. If you didn't subscribe to our channel yet, do it now so you can get many more of these events, so you can continue rehumanizing yourself. Now we're going to open the floor to the 5 panelists so they can join me on this virtual stage and move on to the second part of today's panel. As you know, we're going to ask a few questions now, and our panelists will answer the questions. The idea is to try and get a very complete perspective of the answer. The first question that I have for you all is, do you believe that happiness can truly be taught? Why or why not? Who wants to go first? Go ahead, Laura.
Apologies, I was muted. Yeah, I always have problems finding the microphone. Well, in regards to happiness, I think it can be taught. I think it comes from within. It can be discovered, though. So we can help people discover their happiness. I think thought happiness is not long-lasting. It's codependent, while true happiness is free-flowing, endless, as it comes from within. It's independent of anything from outside.
Thank you, Laura. Monica asked for the floor, then Rosaria, and then Rosario.
Yes. I think it could be taught. I come from a mother that is an orphan. She's an orphan of a dad. So her mom, to be able to work, she had to go through several of her aunts to live in. And so she had a little bit of a rough childhood. But is it taught? Yes, it is. I have never met another woman that has been so optimist like my mom, but she used her ashes and to bring in service to others. She was, when she went to school, somebody else paid her school. Her mom was doing work at another place, but she had to walk to school miles to get to school in the city that she was living. But when time went by, her economical scenario changed very nicely. And so she started helping family from her family members to give them school, to pay their school, their universities, and love on them so they could understand that even though you have a lack of this, let me give you this other part so you can understand that optimism, yes, it could be taught, and yes, you could definitely change your mindset.
Thank you. Rosario, and then Vinay.
Yeah, interesting also to hear Laura's perspective, because for me it's an absolute yes, it can be tough, and in fact it really needs to be tough in schools. For me it's shocking that in schools we teach history, we teach math, we teach everything possible, but nothing about the science of happiness and well-being, except for a few exceptions. So my entire book, Yellow Factor, was about finding those trailblazers which are changing the way that things are done. And in the book, in the chapter about empathy, we found the Danish school are one of the first pioneer. They have a mandatory national program as early as preschool called Step by Step, where they teach the kids to recognize emotions with the use of picture, by having conversation, so that kids really learn to be aware of their emotions, recognize them, and deal with them appropriately. Because I think really one of the main things of the rehumanize humanity, and that we have forgotten about our humanity, is that we are thinking, even at school, I mean, I studied economics, oh, we are rational being. No, we are not rational, we are emotional being. So that's where the beginning of rehumanization starts. We need to understand our human nature, and our human nature is also nature. Tal Ben-Shahar has created this Happiness Studies Academy and the entire preschool program. And I think that while educational system catch up with the reality, that's where I feel that the corporate environment can fill in that gap by ensuring that they also provide this type of well-being and happiness training to their employees, just like they teach them to use Excel or to do time management or to do any other type of things. They should also teach employees about well-being. And that's also very much the approach that I'm having as a corporate trainer. Always starts also from the people well-being, because it also has no point to go and teach them how to be great customer experience expert if you don't teach them also first about emotion and their own well-being.
Thank you, Rosaria. I think Rosario, Vinay, and then Monica and Laura.
Thank you, Jessica. I couldn't agree more with Rosaria. I do believe happiness can be taught and should be taught, because we, as Rosaria said, we know about math. We learn how to finance at the corporate environments, but we can build our own happiness, and we have to learn about it in order to increase our well-being. So I really believe, I do consider happiness can be taught and should be at the schools.
Thank you. Vinay?
Yeah, actually, I mean, I would agree with all of you, whatever you said. Happiness can be taught, but I would agree more to the word used by Rosaria is, yes, it can be taught, but it needs to be learned. Yes, I mean, you can take the horse to the water, but you cannot make it drink the water, right? So it has to come from you within, that I want to learn, I want to be happy, and then you can ask. And again, there is this famous saying that, okay, when the student is ready, the teacher comes up, and you can find a teacher. So yes, happiness can be taught, but it can be taught only when you are ready and you want to learn happiness, or you want to learn to be happy. Because if I say you want to learn happiness, that means we are probably putting happiness as some kind of matter that I can then find it. Probably you wouldn't find it physically somewhere, but you need to feel it inside yourself. And that's what you need to learn, how to find that.
Thank you, Vinay. Let me interrupt here and add my own perspective, and then I'll give the floor to Monica and Laura again, because there's something that I learned. My father was a teacher trainer. He taught teachers how to teach. And one of the things that I learned with him was that there's no bad student, there's a bad teacher. If a teacher is not ready to teach all kinds of students with all their different learning capacities and styles, the teacher will fail, and so will the student. So when we go to events like tonight's event, and we hear these big gurus talking about happiness and saying, if you want to be happy, you have to do blah, 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 or you have to do blah, 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 I always get a little upset. And I say, who on earth do you think you are to tell me what makes me happy? You don't know me, you have no clue. By this I mean that it is important that in order to teach others how to be happy, we know the many different tools that each person might need to get there. We first need to help the person identify and define what happiness means to them, what makes them happy at all levels. And then as professionals, we need a complete toolbox, not one tool, not one method, but a complete toolbox to make sure that we have the right tools for each human being, because we are all different, we all learn different, we all live different, and we need to be able to provide our clients, patients, students, coaches, mentees, whatever it is that they need to continue making progress. I just wanted to add that because I think it's important. It's not just a matter of teaching or learning, but also a matter of learning how to teach properly. So I just wanted to add that. So I think it was Monica and then Laura. Yes, Monica, go ahead.
I think this is such good stuff. These are golden nuggets. This is good stuff. I've seen through my trajectory, especially with young people that don't know the value of themselves, they fall in love with someone, okay? They fall in love with someone. If the person doesn't give them the value that they are asking, they're craving, they're crying for it, they're begging for it, if that person flees, that person damages, and then their happiness depends on someone else. Look, let me tell you something. The learning, yes, it's key, but you need to know a little bit about the background of that person. Culture involves a lot. Their culture, their form, their formation, everything is a whole. Because when you get to know these people, I have this girl, just a long story short, she came into depression at her 17 years old. She fell in love with this guy and he made her a mess, okay? He made her a mess. Until she didn't understand that. She came back and then I said, okay, girl, you want to do this? You want to do this? Keep on doing it your way, or you want to learn? I'm ready to learn. I can't do it anymore. I want to kill myself. Okay, I want to kill myself. So when you get into that point and you start teaching, and what you said, Vinay, the person is available to learn. The life changes immediately. You could see the changes immediately, because if the person doesn't have their own value to know who they are, everything is going to make them unhappy, everything and everyone. But if you know who you are, you could fastly recuperate, because things are going to come, hit you on the right or the left, but you recuperate fast. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Laura, and then Rosaria.
Sure. I feel like I need to reiterate. I use the word discovery because happiness is a part of our humanity. It's within us. We just bury it under a ton of other issues, superficial issues, or maybe not. It is within us. It's not something that needs to be taught. We might need to be taught to discover it, to find it, but it's there. So all that you've said, it's true, but we need guides to help us discover the light within. So Jessica, you said it best, and I completely agree. And probably you agree that it's part of our humanity. It's true happiness. It's there. We are God's creation. If you believe in God or another creator, but we have been created from light. So happiness is there.
Thank you, Laura. Rosaria, and then I want to share a couple comments that we're already getting from our audience. So go ahead, Rosaria.
Just quickly, I want to now summarize what you said, then Monica and Laura. What I love, Tal Ben-Shahar always says that we need to bring together research. That's what the science says that contributes to happiness and so on, with me-search, because each of us is different. And also the practice of well-being that work for me might not work for you. So that's why the two things have to combine. And that's how then I think this combines a bit all of the different perspectives that we were saying.
Thank you. Hilda, the first comment that I want to read to you from our audience. Hilda says, from the Global Coaching Federation, we consider happiness is a habit that we all should cultivate. And she wanted us to communicate this to the panel. And then FM Neruda says, Laura is right. You can't teach it. It can be learned. You can only help someone discover what makes them happy. Thank you for those comments. Thank you for the participation in the panel. If there are no more comments, I have another question for our panelists. I would like to know, what are the key necessary elements of happiness? What are the basic components? Yes, Vinay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's very dear to my heart. So it was really very quick, spontaneous hand raise in that sense. But because that's what we do even when I say dare to show up. And in fact, if probably some of the things are already answered in the previous question, because it's the discovery, right? As Laura was saying. It's I think Monica said about who we are or who you are as a person. So all of that comes as really the key element of if somebody wants to be happy, what are the things that they are necessary to start with, or where they need to start with. And in my showing up in life, I kind of combine them into 5 necessary elements. And that starts with, for example, it starts with purpose. So the purpose, and here it goes beyond, so, we talk about this, whichever model you can take, but like, the Maslow's theory or the needs says that, okay, right from the basic needs, as you go higher up, there are different needs. But this purpose goes beyond that, and beyond the financial security or the basic security that we are talking about. So once that is satisfied, so you need to take a perspective which is bigger than what you are doing in your daily life. So what's my purpose, and being intentional with that purpose in everything you do. The second thing that we talk about is authenticity. And again, this could be a big word and can be misused. But for me, what is authenticity is how much I know about myself, and then how much I own about that what I know about myself, and I own that. And then I want to be myself. Whatever I know, I own, and I be myself. So when I come up with that, all that with authentically or authenticity, with that authenticity, it's easy to discover yourself, or it's easy to probably learn what I want, as well as express what I want. And the third one is about taking accountability. And this is because, as we talked earlier as well, being happy is a choice. It's a mindset. And once I choose that I want to be happy, then I make all those decisions with that purpose in mind. And then I take accountability for all my decisions. And when I take accountability, there is no blame game. I cannot be, because whatever I do, it's up to me. And that's where I take that accountability. And when I take the accountability, I probably also decide to be present in the moment. This is more about the mindfulness, because most of the time we are either indulging in the past and really thinking about, oh, what could have been done better, or what went wrong, or is this right or wrong? So that which is already happening, I cannot change that. Or as a human being, I'm already thinking about my future and then get anxious. So only when I'm present, I can have full access to myself, whatever I discover. And when I have full access to myself, as we say, it's inside me. So I can access what's inside me, and that's my happiness, right? And the last point, or the 5th point in my model, is about, most of the time people talk about, the balance, etc., which is right. But when I say balance, it immediately gives me the perception of really looking at a straight line. Whereas life is never a straight line. It's always up and down, up and down. And that's why I call it as a rhythm, the life rhythm. So as we learn to be, to dance in that rhythm of our life, probably you can be grateful for everything that life has to offer to you. And when we are grateful, probably it's much more easy to really accept yourself. And there are three last, very quickly about the 3 points that I just want to share. When we teach, or when we kind of learn all these 5 concepts, there comes the what we call it as the inner balance. And inner balance is all about really self-acceptance. That means I'm turning all my experiences into learning that nourishes my life instead of becoming trigger or suffering. And then the second one is self-love, which is that awakens, when I love myself, that awakens my resilience and kindness towards myself and others, so that it's easy for me to define the needs and express myself. And the third and the last point here is, I think we already said, it's also the forgiveness. I forgive myself, I forgive others, but it's more importantly, the forgiveness for me is releasing the past to be fully available to the unfolding present. And that's where I free myself. So for me, this is probably taking the holistic view of what could be the elements of happiness.
Thank you very much, Vinay. Rosaria, and then Rosario.
And so for me here is really where the sunflower comes into play. So for me, the metaphor of the happiness as this blossoming sunflower. And I actually have, let's see if it works, a slide that I thought may be useful to share with the audience for them to easier follow what I'm saying. So as part of writing the book and putting together also, like Vinay mentioned, Maslow hierarchy of needs, I looked at Maslow hierarchy of needs, but also Marshall Rosenberg. And now he says that emotions are what we feel when our needs are met or not met. So I looked at what are the universal human needs that we need to fulfill in order to feel happy. And I, together with my co-author Stan Phelps, we came up with these acronyms, which conveniently matches happiness, where you have health, autonomy, purpose, play, integrity, nature, empathy, simplicity, and smile. And I say, the more to be happier, you need to fill up those pollen tanks as much as possible. So I use this metaphor in more details. Then you have all of those different elements where they're all connected to the needs that they fulfill. So super briefly, health is both about physical and mental health. Autonomy is about being in control of our emotions, having time and space. Education is also part of our autonomy. Purpose, Vinay already included. Playfulness, I mean, play is how we express ourselves, is also how we learn. Integrity, that's the bit of authenticity. Nature is about living in alignment with nature, our nature, and the nature outside, and also about the sense of beauty. Empathy, it's about the connection. We are hardwired for connecting with each other and belonging. Simplicity is to use as little energy as possible for doing anything and have clarity and efficiency. And smile, it's ultimately also about gratitude. It's really, it was mentioned before, so from some of the panelists, when you smile, your body immediately activates. And most recently, I connected this, and that's now my bit lecturing part, I feel now, to the entire SPIRE well-being framework from Tal Ben-Shahar, where I really feel like pursuing our well-being is the operating system, is the choice that we make to be happy. Just like we choose an operating system, Apple or Windows, then you have the hardware, our body, our mind, our heart, our lungs, and all of those elements, the sunflowers that I just mentioned, are like the software, the factors that we choose to embrace through practices like mindfulness, meditation, journaling, questioning, and so on. So that really, in the most brief way possible. And those for me are the elements that I consciously try to fill up my day with, or to dedicate my time to, because otherwise everything else takes over.
Thank you so much. Rosario, please.
Thank you. Yes, I just want to let you know about some models about happiness. I mean, we have the PERMA model by Martin Seligman. I am not explaining it right now, but you can navigate about it. We have the SPIRE, as Rosaria explained, and this is the Tal Ben-Shahar model, and we have the Carol Reef model as well. And I like to share, for me, there are 3 steps to build our own happiness. I will start with consciousness. We have to work in our self-knowledge. The second step, it would be intention. We have to know where do we want to be. So recognize our intention. And the third step, it would be action. We have to behave in coherence to our intention.
Thank you, Mónica.
Perspectives, right? Perspectives are very important. There's this Bible verse that says, the joy of God is your strength. The joy of God is your inner strength. And I love the way that Vinay stated gratitude. You know, when we're hitting hard times in our lives, there's not a better place than gratitude to look back and to see how many things you have been able to overcome. And if you look back in the hard time that you're living today, you will be able to have strength because you know that if you were helped at that point, not only with your capability, there's sometimes that you don't feel capable of doing things, that you feel that you're impossibilitated, that you feel so tight. But when you look back and you have the sense of gratitude in your life, you know that help is coming. You know that the door is opening, that you know that you're going out of that desert, that you know that you're going to see another thing happening, probably not in the way that you think it's going to happen. You need to be flexible. But if when it comes, you recognize it and say, I am helped again, I am blessed again, and the joy of God is my strength. The joy of God is my strength. And so as we bring in so many types of teachings and so beautiful teachings, I would definitely say how wonderful it is when you see a person that comes in the midst of hard times and all bubbly and all happy. And instead of criticizing that person, why is that person so happy? So why don't you ask the question and say, how can I do that too? So simple things, journaling, going out for a walk, connecting with nature, those are natural things that we need to do. Having the sense of talking to yourself, talking with God, those are natural things. But when you let everything else talk to you, it's hard to get out of those scenarios. So gratitude and going out to the simplest things, we sometimes tend to complicate it. Simple things will make a change in our lives. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you, Mónica. Laura?
I just wanted to say that everything that has been told is so inspiring, and something resonated with me that Mónica said regarding faith. I remember one of the teachings I've read, and it was Jesus is knocking at your door, and he's knocking and he's knocking, and forever will be. It's waiting for you to open the door. I believe it's the same with happiness, and either you believe in God or not, the universe will respond as long as you want to. It's so simple. If you want to be happy, the universe will respond. You will find a way. Just don't give up. Just keep on looking and have patience and don't give up, because it will come to you. That was it.
Thank you, Laura. Vinay, let me add something, please. I want to add something that we work at here in the Institute. Before SPIRE, before PERMA, before any of those models, we teach at the Institute that apart from Maslow's basic needs, human beings all have 5 human basic needs. And without having satisfied those 5 basic human needs, nothing else will make you happy. We always explain that all human beings need a certain sense of security. And we look for security many different ways. Some people look for spiritual security, and they pray and they look for answers. Others look for physical security. They might practice judo, or they might have many locks in their houses, or they might become stronger by practicing sports so they don't feel so threatened. Others still pile money in the bank account so they feel safe and secure. The second basic need that we'll have is the need for adventure, mystery, a little uncertainty in our lives. We need to be surprised. We need to have the joy of not knowing exactly what's going to happen. We need the mystery, that excitement. When we don't have any of these basic needs fulfilled, we feel emptiness inside. Is this hole that we feel in the pit of our stomachs. And we've all experienced that because we all have those 5 needs, all of them, everyone. At times, the needs are more fulfilled than others. Some of them. At times, you might need more security. At other times, you might need more adventure. Sometimes we feel content because all our needs are fulfilled and we can start looking for something else. The third of our basic needs, everyone will know, we need love. We need love in both ways, to love and to feel loved. And that love can come in many different shapes and forms. We need self-love, all kinds of love. The fourth one, we all need to feel like we are growing. When a person stops growing, or let me rephrase that, when a person stops needing to grow, the person dies. They physically or they mentally die. They have a stroke, or they even get into senility, or they lose their minds. We need to continue looking for things. We need to be interested in life, in people, in things. When there's not that, we lose it. And the fifth need that we all have is the need to contribute. We need to feel like what we do matters, that we're doing something worth it, that we are helping somehow. Could be a person, an animal, society in general, my neighbor. When those 5 basic needs are fulfilled, then we take the next step. But when one of those needs is not fulfilled, no matter what we do in the search for happiness, that empty hole in our pit will stay there. So we need to work on that too. I just want to tell that. Vinay, you wanted the floor? Go ahead.
Yeah, very quickly. I mean, there were different things that were said, and I just wanted to touch base on the faith, which is exactly, I mean, for me also the spirituality is really the part of this, the elements that we talk. But here, and that does not necessarily mean which religion or which faith you follow. That's everyone's choice. But spirituality here for me is more about, these are the rituals that you do for your spirit, your soul, right? And that could be, as you were saying, whether it's praying, or whether it's the sports, or whether it is anything that really lifts up your spirit, your soul, the energy. And that's something which is really, really important. And that's where I I remembered one of the quote from Acharya or Bhagwan Rajneesh, or his beloved called as Osho, the mystic from India. What he mentioned about, like, choose in your life something which gives you unconditional joy, which is more than, or which is outside of your professional work. And why? Because when you are doing this is not as a profession, but really just to enjoy yourself, to give unconditional joy, then you are not expecting anything in return. And that actually can add to your the joy and the happiness that you can experience in that moment.
Thank you, Vinay. We're going to move on to another question. We still have a few more questions to ask, and I know that the answers are really interesting. Let's see if we can fulfill all these questions. The next question for you guys is, do you believe that current generations are happier than the ones before us? Why or why not? Hand? Do I see a hand? There you go, Laura. Go for it.
Well, I believe every generation has its struggles. It might be more difficult at times due to external influences that shape and mold our beliefs, but happiness was and always is an option, as probably it has already become obvious. And I think we might start actually to wake up and learn how to better take care of ourselves as human beings, and we were starting to tap into that inner strength and power that we hold. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Yes, Monica?
I definitely agree with Laura. But definitely we do see right now a very big void. I don't know if in your countries, but I see a different void in the US. The youth is different than when I was, you know. I had fun with simple things, and nowadays kids have fun with other things that are not even healthy for their mindsets, you know. And for me, it's a very it's an issue. It's an issue. We're seeing so many things happen. So for me, for my sons, I have 3 sons, which, as I mentioned before, they told me I couldn't have any. Well, I have 3. By your surprise, here we go. So my youngest, he's 18. He just became 18, and he's finalizing his high school. So I'm always on top of him. Like, he's very responsible and everything, but I'm always on top of him. You need to check out what you're listening to. It's not only what you eat. If you eat McDonald's every day, you get fat and you get sick. But if you eat also through your eyes and through your ears, you feed yourself. So you need to very, very well choose and pick what you're going to listen. You can't just let junk come and feed you. You need to be wise. So these things, probably they're not I was trained by a mother, like, or you do it or you do it. She just had to look at me in the eyes and not even talk to me a word, and I knew, go wash your teeth, go to bed, shut up, and go do what you have to do, you know what. But with our kids, it's different, you know. And you have to sit down, talk to them. And I think parents are so busy nowadays that they forget to be parents. And I think our first and biggest and most important business is our family. Our kids, our scenario, our family orientation is very important. They are the future of our countries. They are the future of our lives. And we better leave a good legacy. So yes, I am worried for this generation.
Thank you, Monica. Rosaria?
Yeah, and I can only echo that. And I have to say, even the younger generation, my son echo that. As you might have seen before I put my video off, my oldest son, 13 years old, actually came in because he feels sick. So he's sitting now next to me. And when you asked the question, he immediately said, oh yeah, before they were definitely happier than I am now. And I was like, okay. So he's having his perspective as well. And back also to the science of happiness. Yeah, of course, because indeed we play the real simple play less. They play much more, but on the screens. So that's continuous scrolling, those continuous, it was say emoji and stuff, and it's continuous. Come si chiama? Flashes. So it's suggesting from the whatever those things are. But also what I see also with myself, it's with iPhone, you always have this continuous social media comparison, this feed, everything is there continuously, and certain things have become more complicated and taking us more energy. So like all the emails, I mean, I have 5 different emails account, the passwords, I feel like our digital life has become of such a complexity to manage over everything else. And there, yeah, that's absolutely, and it's only getting more. So yes, I echo what everybody else is saying. It's scary.
Yes, Laura?
Listening to the conversation, I remember I was raised by grandparents, and I remember my grandparents having the same concerns about my generation, which only reflects how every generation has concerns about the following generation, and probably it's part of our human nature. And obviously, technological advancement brought its burdens. It helped, but as always, until we learn how to balance it and operate it with care, we struggle. But it's so funny because I keep on remembering my grandparents talking about my generation, and it's so lovely. It seems that we all care for our cubs and we all want the best for them. So obviously we worry.
Thank you so much, Laura. Vinay, and then Rosario?
Yeah, I agree with what actually Laura was saying, and I wanted to bring that point as well. That it's always that we, through the eyes of our care for our children, or probably every generation has gone through the similar pattern. So I wouldn't say that, okay, whether this generation is more happier or less happier than the previous generation. And I would rather, my perspective is the life always comes to a full circle, because you will go through that different things. And that's probably necessary to understand and learn and experience and nourish our lives. So it's always, as a parent or as a senior, probably it's our duty to guide them, but at the same time, they would learn through this experience. And there is nothing better example than the COVID time, because suddenly everybody started to realize what's necessary, what's really important, not just necessary, what's really important in their life. And as we were defining what's happiness, probably one of the things that we always say happiness is what are my haves divided by what are my needs. So, and so probably that was the time it taught us, like, okay, how can I limit my needs, reduce that need so that I can be more happy. And again, in that sense, there was this beautiful quote from Dalai Lama, where he mentioned that we need to learn how to want what we have and not to have what we want. And if, I mean, once every generation, when they learn these things, probably it brings the equality with the other generation.
Thank you, Vinay. Rosario?
Thank you, Jessica. I like to start repeating your question. You said something like, do you believe that current generations are happier? So I do consider we have to think about humanity, the history of humanity. So geologists break down our history into ages. And the last age that we are living is Genozoic. Now, Genozoic breaks down into two epochs, the Pleistocene and the Holocene. Now, this last one starts when the Ice Age, at the end of the Ice Age. So we are living the best age in our life. The humanity are living the best circumstances that they ever lived before. Now, we could think then that we are happier than ever, but we are not. The Global Organization of Health said at 2022 that there is 3 million of people with depression at 2022. This means 18% more than 10 years ago. Now, I don't have the data in 2024, but I do have the data about organizations. So, according with Gallup, 85% of people in corporations are not engaged of their work. So let me say it again. It means that 1 of 4 persons in organizations are not engaged. So what we are doing at organizations, that's why at the beginning I was thinking about business. We have to build organizations based on happiness, based on the employees' well-being.
Thank you. I just wanted to add something, and then I'll give Laura the floor again. Never before have we had so much information. Never, ever. Now we have everything at the tip of our hands, and our youngsters also have it. They want to know something, they grab their phones and they check it out. They learn everything at a much earlier, younger age than we ever did. I remember my first boyfriend confessed that he was gay. I was 16. I was like, how's that possible? What does that mean? I was completely naive. Completely naive. Can you imagine a 16-year-old today thinking something like that? improbable, right? That's because they're having much more information than we ever had in the past, and that's making them grow faster too. They know much more about emotions than we ever did. They know much more about everything than we ever did, and they also experience things much earlier before we ever did. So are they happier? I don't know. I don't think so. The younger generations are talking about depression, anxiety, and medical terms like this as if it were candy in the park on a Sunday afternoon. And they self-diagnose themselves all the time. I have this, I have that, because they go into the internet, they check for symptoms, and they self-diagnose. And then they believe it. And when they believe it, they turn it true. So we have to be very careful with this new wave of knowledge that is available to everybody in the world. I think that this is creating a world that we never saw before, and we have to learn how to deal with it. And it is having an impact upon people's happiness. I just wanted to mention that. Laura?
Yeah, I wanted to say that access to information changed everything indeed, and including statistics results. By the way, depression, anxiety, and many other aspects of our mental well-being weren't even recognized. You were complaining about a headache. It was one thing, they gave you a pill. But if you ever said, I am sad, I am suicidal, the answer would have been, get over it. You need to work. We have other important things. So we might be 3 million people recorded now, but let's remember what atrocities happened in previous generations, but nobody paid any attention to those. Nobody recorded them. So, and nobody treated them, by the way. So we don't know exactly who's happier or if we're happier. Technology definitely changed, access changed, but I'm a true believer in the fact that we shouldn't compare pain, sorrow, or level of happiness. In the end, we're all human beings, and that circle of life that was mentioned, it's happening, and that's how we learn, and it's part of our existence.
Thank you, Laura. If there are no more comments or questions, I have another question for you. And I know some of you are going to like this question very much. The question is, happiness at work is a big thing today. How effective do you think those programs are? Who wants to go first?
I do.
Okay, go for it, Rosario.
Thank you. Well, for sure. I really consider that interventions about happiness are helpful. And we have data about it. And we have to say that people who are investing in happiness, organizations that are investing in happiness, have better results, have a higher performance, because it's not rocket science, you know? If people is happy, they are more productive. But I have to say, I do believe that happiness and conscious business and conscious enterprises, organizations, it's more about productive. It's more about production. It's about, it's about human flourishing. I have to say, it's time to think about humanity, not as resources, like we used to think, you know, human resources. We have to think humanity, people, employees, as beautiful souls, you know, that want to flourish. So I work to put tools for companies in order to increase the happiness into corporate environments, because there is science, there is data about it, and it's helpful. It's helpful, but it's not about productivity. It's about flourishing. it's about well-being, and we have to be aware about this at corporations.
Thank you, Rosario. Anybody else? Yes, Laura?
I actually agree that happiness at work started to gain more territory, in the sense that organizations are looking to hire professionals to improve the work environment. However, unfortunately, many of times is not those techniques are not applied correctly, and frequently misunderstood. And I would dare to say that in some environments it's just a tick boxing exercise. The good part of it is that people show a growing interest in taking care of their inner processes, towards changing their perspectives and building a positive mindset and learning how to create their own happiness, which in turn pushes organizations to change their operations, because obviously you need employers that actually work for you and make you productive. They need money, but okay, to make money we need to satisfy our employees. So it's good in a sense. It's the growing interest, so it has a positive impact. So keep on pushing. If you're working and you're not happy, gather the troops, push for it.
Thank you, Laura. Rosaria?
Yeah, so I want to add that while indeed we know that well-being pays, and it was beautiful last year at WOHA, so Emmanuel Deneve really showing analysis on the stock value market, how it pays off. So I think we really have to watch out when we talk about programs, interventions, or way of operating, ways of being, conscious capitalism, as Rosario was saying. Yes, some interventions are useful and they work for a brief period of time. Some programs may as well, but not unless it's a completely way of operating, a different way of operating in the organization. So on this one, the perspective on this question, the perspective that comes to mind for me is that in the past 20 years in business, I worked a lot first on customer satisfaction surveys and all the data and the analysis and the change management coming from it, and then on Net Promoter Score, which became the new buzzword into the corporate environment of the likelihood that customers will recommend us, and that has been applied to customers and to employees. But when the companies just focused on those NPS programs, it became, just like Laura says, a tick box, and it did not really change everything. In fact, it created gamification to gain the higher scores, and that's not the point. So it really needs to be embedded and change the way that you behave everywhere in the organization, really through the culture, the way that you hire, the way that you onboard your employees, the way that you do your performance review, and similarly with NPS through customer experience, every possible layer, from the vision and the strategy, the measurement, what is that you actually measure, the accountability that was also mentioned earlier, really everywhere. Yeah, otherwise it's just a tick box.
Thank you, Rosaria. Anybody else? Okay, yes,
I'd like to
Monica. Sorry, Monica, and then Rosario, and then I want to add something too. Monica, go ahead.
When you see a country that's very fluctuant in the people that are coming in, like here in the States, you see a lot or not many, or a lot of professionals that come in from their countries being professionals, and they can't assume their professionalism in a country like this. They need to gain their location. So let me tell you something. There's so many people right now that are working in things that they're not called to, that they're just working to work because they need to fill a void. But there's nothing more important for trainers, for business trainers, for business environments, for entrepreneurs to throw them out to do their own business, is what are you really passionate about? Because if you're passionate, you're going to be a great mentor, a great asset to any environment that you're in, whether you're in the calling or not. I discovered that I had this career, but when I got into this scenario, because it was a hardship, I found myself in another dimension that I didn't know it was running in me. So I was an asset. I was the best asset for corporate America because I was prideful of what I was doing. I was happy making that company be the best it could be. Well, the thing is, are we really training the people at the right places, at the right conditions? Is that the right passion that they need? And if they're not, help them to achieve the move without being a slave of something that they're not supposed to be. That's my point.
You are mute, Jessica, but I'm going to add. Yeah, thank you.
Rosario, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I like to add. I mean, I consider that, and I know, we know, because we have data about it, that interventions of happiness works. But at the same time, as Rosaria said, there is this brainwashing happiness. So we have to be aware and we have to learn about happiness, because happiness is not yoga at corporations. It's not meditation at companies. It's not about dancing and smiling always. It's about science. So we have to learn about happiness as we learn about finance, for example.
Thank you, Rosario. I wanted to add something. Already back in the times when Professor Seligman was studying optimism, there were many studies going on, many studies around the world on optimism. And optimism is, of course, one of the elements of happiness. And all those studies coincided. All of them yielded the same results. If you're an optimist, you live longer, you live healthier lives, you sell better. But one important piece of information is that optimists leave their jobs much less frequently than pessimists. Optimists stay at work because they feel happier, because they feel fulfilled, whereas pessimists leave their companies much more often than optimists do. So having a deep sense of happiness does have a good impact in the overall results of employee performance in companies. But achieving that overall happiness is what this is all about. And the question is, are those programs effective at reaching that? Or are they just, as Rosario was just saying, fun activities to keep people joyful and entertained? You know, if they are the latter, they're not going to work. If they really get to the bottom of things and they can really instill this sense of deep happiness in their employees, then they will be a great success. The question is, how are they going to get these to companies, and how are they going to make sure that they're being properly offered, as Laura said? So, well, there's many studies that already prove this. Anybody else? Any other comments? Oh yes, Vinay, I thought I had seen your hand, but I wasn't 100% certain. Vinay, then Monica, then Rosario, please. Rosaria, go ahead.
Well, I agree what you said, Jessica, and I just wanted to bring it back to what I was saying earlier, is that yes, I mean, first of all, there is no doubt all these programs would help, and we all know what are the benefits of it. So there is no disagreement with that. As well as what Rosaria or Laura was saying is also, if it is just a tick in the box, then also we know the negative impact of those. What I wanted to bring here is being patient. You know, because the moment you say, oh, I'm spending, or I'm implementing this and I'm spending, so there has to be a KPI, and what are the results? Can we see that? So if that's the driver behind it, then probably it will become a tick in the box. So really being patient with it. And on the other hand, whether we are, I mean, as an employee, it's not, you cannot just depend on the interventions or what companies or the corporations are providing. The one is, of course, it's my accountability for my own happiness. So I need to really learn and discover what really makes me happy. But also I need to make sure how can I protect myself from those external triggers, because there will always be when we are working in that kind of environment. So if something goes for which is in favor of me, I'm happy. And if something goes in against me, then I feel, oh, nothing is working, and it becomes or makes me unhappy. Then probably there is something wrong with me that I need to look at myself. And that's the point that, okay, you have to first look within before you start judging any of these programs.
Thank you, Vinay. Monica, please.
I think that's such a good point right there, Vinay. But also, you know, it's not only the employee, it's the employer, you know, the person that's heading the whole company. You know, you see these big shots up there that they won't give growth to other people when they're doing it with their heart and their soul. When you see a great employer, when you see a CEO that rocks the house with their people, that let them grow, you'll have faithful people for the rest of your life. You'll have people for the long run. I've worked in corporate America, and I've had a couple of bosses, but there's two guys that I will never forget. I will never forget, because these men looked at me, they saw me, they said, I'm going to deposit in you. So when I was coming out of television and I got into the States, and I said, I didn't even know how to work a computer, but I had grace and I was a great employee. But this guy said, I'm going to deposit in this woman. 3 years later, I was the big boss of all the 3 companies, making this man millions of dollars. And I will never forget him. You know why? Because he believed in me. So not only to train the employees, we need to train the CEOs. We need to train the heads of house to believe in their people. So that is key to any corporation.
Thank you, Monica. Rosaria?
I now have 2 things I want to add, because first, I wanted to mention that one thing that is very important on those programs is, yes, you have the corporate element, whether it's going to be effective for the corporate or not. That's dependent on whether you change also other things within the organization. Yet, if you do make some intervention in which you teach really tools and strategy, one of my favorite is the entire positive intelligence concept, which allows you to access your inner sage, which then connects to what Vinay was saying. So in one of my latest well-being programs, where I did learning pills to the employees of a big company like Puma, we looked at what is psychological safety, but we also looked at if and when, for whatever reason, there is no psychological safety, how can you still face that by accessing your own inner sage? What is that you can do to change your perspective of to even be able to face those challenging situations? So at individual level, I think there is still a lot of benefit, because then that employee can still choose to leave or not the company if really that company does not walk the talk and lives through the culture. So I feel like I might not have contributed to the company because that company was just ticking the box. So their choice to not apply it everywhere, but we as a coach, as trainer, have still impacted the individual life, because that person has learned a new way to cope, and then maybe has made a different choice to step out from this environment which was not allowing them to thrive. So there, I still see the benefit. And the final point is also about how we teach it. So I'm also a happiness game facilitator. And in the happiness game, we actually do in a playful way, we apply the SPIRE elements. So there are certain dilemmas. So we get 6 people on each table. There is a dilemma, and then there are solution cards. But in the way that we play that game, people also learn to connect with each other. So the extra elements which then stays there even after the game is over is that they learn they can actually have those conversations with their colleagues, they can trust each other, and that stays. And that's a different way also of bringing well-being. So it's also about the how, but there is so much on this topic, really.
Thank you, Rosaria. We only have a few minutes left, and we're going to have a surprise visitor. I didn't tell the panelists, so they're going to be surprised. But I have one question that I really, really, really want to ask all the panelists. And answer if you want to, okay? It's a question that I've been often asked, and I wanted to convey it to you to see what you think about this. People often ask me, is happiness a right or an obligation? Is it our right to be happy, or are we obliged to be happy? First Vinay, then Monica.
Well, I mean, very short, because I know we are short of time, but probably this is like a philosophical, this question is of a philosophical debate. And the way I look at it is, it's neither a right which is given by someone like state or government or organization, but it is more of the acquired right. What I mean by acquired right is that I go back to that accountability concept. So it is my accountability, and I can be accountable, and I have the right to choose to be happy. So if I make that choice, it's my right to be happy. However, every right comes up with an obligation. And that means if I am happy, I don't need to flaunt that happiness in front of someone who's unhappy, or who has something else going on, who's in a bad state. And that's my obligation, to make sure that in that situation, whether that person I know or I don't know, but in that situation, I rather call upon my empathy, and I rather call upon my compassion to be in that, to be with that person, because that will increase my happiness. And so from that point of view, I don't see it as a right or obligation in that sense, but it's probably acquired right, and that which brings the obligation with it. That's
Thank you,
personal
Vinay.
obligation.
Rosaria?
For me
Thank
also,
you. Rosaria and then Laura.
very quickly, is also for me neither, so very similar. I would say that it's a choice and a responsibility towards ourselves and towards others, because at any moment, with every words that we speak, every action that we make, or choices that we do also with our businesses towards customers and employees and society overall, we can contribute or not to other triple happiness. So choice and responsibility.
Thank you, Rosaria. Laura? And then Monica?
Well, I dare to say that it is both, actually. Everyone has the right to be happy. And since we are alive and living, we could say that we have an obligation to ourselves to be happy, to enjoy it. So from that perspective, I would say it's both. But obviously, I'm not contradicting you. It's just another point of viewing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Monica?
I respect everybody's opinion, which is very valid and very strong. But I say we have the right. We have the right to be happy. We could be happy, and we should be happy. And if I am gaining around with the people that are not happy, I need to change my tribe, because I need people that will influence me, and I need people to influence. So yes, I have the right to be happy, and I want to be happy, and I decided to be happy no matter what. And I'm going to make it happen, because this is my time, my life, my generation. And until I leave this land or this world, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So it's my right.
Thank you, Monica. Yes, Laura, and then Rosario.
Apologies. I will just add one thing about happiness, as I've encountered this aspect many times. We have the right to be happy, but we must be careful not to infringe of others' happiness. Just be happy in a polite and courteous way. Just
Thank you, Laura. Rosario?
Thank you. Yes, I like to say both. Happiness is a right and an obligation, but I like to put at the beginning the obligation. I believe that as humanity, we have the obligation, we have the responsibility to be aware about the world, about ourselves. So, an obligation first.
Okay. If I can add something, I have to say I'm a happy human being. And you know what? I love to make others happy. And When I make others happy, I feel happy. So in that sense, I also think not that we have the duty, obligation to make others happy, but the world is such a better place when we make that effort. And we feel so good when we do that, when we make others happy. Isn't it wonderful when you make somebody smile? When somebody gives you one of these wonderful hugs because they are completely satisfied and fulfilled? Well, I don't know if it's a duty. I don't know if it's a right. I just love it. And with this, I'm going to close today's panel because we ran out of time. I was asked by somebody to give them 5 minutes of your time. I hope our esteemed panelists don't mind. It was the Global Coaching Federation that asked for some minutes tonight to address our followers, our viewers. So I want to thank our 5 wonderful panelists for tonight, as wonderful as all the previous ones. The truth is that this Congress has had incredible panelists. The topics have been really analyzed in depth. A lot of tips and ideas have been shared. I'm over the moon with gratitude. Thank you, everyone, for your contributions. Really, thank you. And now let me please introduce the person who asked for the floor. I am extremely happy to introduce 𝗔𝗣𝗑 Delgado. She is the Director of Happiness and International Relationships at the Global Coaching Federation. 𝗔𝗣𝗑, hello, welcome.
Hello, Jessica, again. Hello, my fellow partners. Today, it's a great day. It's a great day. What a way to close this Congress with a happiness topic, with these wonderful people that share us with views and with wisdom about happiness. So I'm nobody to say anything about happiness because you said it all. And I'm truly, truly grateful to have shared today with you. We just asked for this little teeny time because we, from the Global Coaching Federation, we wanted to grant a recognition to our dear Jessica. So she has this already. You just please do the honors and show it. Today we want to recognize you. We shouldn't have done it also in Spanish when we had the journey in Spanish, but by all means, it's all my fault. But today you just not only have broken all boundaries of idioms, but you have reunited the whole world, people from all over the world. I've been seeing you for these 2 weeks, people from Asia, Europe, Africa, Latin America. I'm so happy because a person like you is the only one that can do that like this. You are a mentor to me. I want to be like you. So today with this, with happiness.
Okay. Let me interrupt you here 1 second, 𝗔𝗣𝗑, because I cannot share it. You know, this is funny.
God.
Now, no, I will get it on the screen. This is what Canva is playing out right now, but I will get it for you on the screen. I think we're going to have it on the screen in a minute. So sorry for interrupting. Let me share the screen, I think, right now. It's not the perfect.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see it. Okay.
This is a recognition that it's signed by Ángel López, our president, and for me, Director of Happiness as International Relationships. We extended not only to Jessica this grant, this recognition, but to all the people, the staff behind, all the members of the Institute of Humanology, because you have done great job. You have done beautifully. And we are here today to say goodbye, and we are sad, but we are happy because this is the first of a lot. And I hope to see you again. Jessica, you can do it. We're just waiting for you for the second part because it is great. So thank you very much. In behalf of Global Coaching Federation, we want to say thank you to all of you because of sharing because of caring, and because of bringing happiness to all the world. So bye-bye, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Gigia, for this recognition. I didn't expect this. This is amazing. But this proves again that the world is looking for this rehumanizing that we're talking about. We are together. Let me put all the panelists on the screen with me, because this is not something I did on my own. All of you contributed. And I think that this Congress proves that there's millions out there who really want to rehumanize humanity again. So let's join forces. Let's work together like we did in this first Congress. There will be others, I am sure. And let's just continue spreading the word, spreading the love, spreading the wisdom, and making sure that we become better humans day after day, moment after moment. I want to thank everybody who connected, everybody who watched it afterwards, everyone who wants to rehumanize humanity. On behalf of the International Institute of Humanology and everybody who participated, thank you, and please be happy.